Welcome back to the news at 10. 54 soldiers sentenced to death for mutiny by the General Marshal Court in Abuja in December 2014 have filed a suit before the Federal High Court in Abuja to restrain the army authorities from executing them. Their suit, according to them, was filed out of fear that they could be executed at any moment, despite alleged non-compliance with the procedure stipulated in law. The Chief of Army Staff from the Nigerian Army are the first and second defendants in the suit, which was filed on May the 22nd, 2015. The convicts argued through their counsel, Mrs. Fumi Falana, that it was illegal for the army authorities to go ahead with the execution when the findings of the General Court-Martial had not been promulgated. To politics now, and the race for the position of Speaker of the 8th House of Representatives has taken another turn as one of the lawmakers contesting for the position, Honorable Abdulmuin Jibrin, has dropped his ambition and withdrawn from the race. Speaking in Abuja, Honorable Jibrin said he is now supporting Honorable Yakubu Dogara for the position of Speaker. With this move, only 2 lawmakers will now be contesting for the position of Speaker, Honorable Yakubu Dogara from Bauchi State and Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila from Lagos.
In the last few weeks, I've consulted widely with my supporters and colleagues in order to diffuse the prevailing tension, unite the House, and ensure a smooth takeoff for the Buhari administration. I hereby withdraw from the race of the speakership of the 8th House of Representatives, and consequently throw my weight behind the candidature of Right Honorable Yakubu Dogara, one of our senior colleagues, a man of integrity, an astute legislator, and an amiable gentleman. But even yesterday, the party came out and spoke to the country that ultimately the decision lies within the scope of the House of Representatives. So ultimately, the decision on who becomes the next Speaker of the House of Representatives will be made on the floor of the House, and the next Speaker will be elected by members of the House of Representatives.
Now, there appears to be no end in sight to the industrial strike embarked on by the National Union of Allied Health Professionals, which is in its 3rd week. In Osun State, additional tensions between the government and its workers over unpaid salaries in the last 6 months have also resulted in a lockdown of all government offices and hospitals. Our correspondent Mary Alale Yusuf reports.
The State Secretariat in Osogbo, the State Specialist Hospital, Ashubiaru, and the Ladoke Akintola University Teaching Hospital are deserted. Even the beds in the wards have been stripped bare. The chief consultant of the Osun State Hospital Management Board, Ashubiaru, feels that strikes have gone on way too long.
I feel government has to address this holistically, not just based on whether we're on strike or not. There are several issues to be addressed.
In Lagos, a visit to the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital at Yaba shows that there is no activity. These women, who have come to fill out prescriptions at the pharmacy, find unmanned counters. Discouraged, one settles down for lunch. This is the outpatient clinic of the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital. It's empty, and beyond are the health records. The files are stacked neatly, and no work is going on. There's a bit more life at the National Orthopedic Hospital, Igbobi, as some members of staff show up on the premises, but they are rebuked by NOAP officials ensuring compliance with the strike.
I'm telling you that most of these patients came to take appointments.
Who gives that appointment?
It's the records people.
Then what are you doing here?
Does a physiotherapist?
You are a physiotherapist. What do you do here? What are you doing here?
At a meeting of a committee comprising representatives of the federal government and the joint health sector unions set up by the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Health, the National Union of Allied Health Workers made its position clear.
The strike has not been called off because the NOAP union had expected some circulars. Out of about 10 circulars expected, at least have about 5 or 6 of them released. Secular does not mean money, but it translates to money at the long run.
But the federal government says it can no longer tolerate the strike action and is promising punitive measures for defaulters.
Management cannot sit and fold its arms in the face of violence, willful damage of property, and impunity being perpetrated by some misguided members of the union. Management firmly believes in the policy of no work, no pay, in accordance with the relevant labor laws, since all entreaties to the unions to end the strike has fallen on deaf ears. The ministry will, however, continue to open all available channels for dialogue.
Some of the things NUAP is insisting on before the strike is called off are the release of circulars for the adjustment of CONHES salaries, skipping of CONHES 10 arrears, and the adjustment of retirement age from 60 to 65 years. Mary Alale Yusuf, Channels Television News.
Premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, is yet to be fully available in petrol stations across the country, and Nigerians are still buying the product above the official 87 naira pump price. Now, our correspondent Loretta Chogo reports that queues are still visible at petrol stations in spite of the promise made when oil marketers met with the Senate committees on downstream and upstream a week ago.
These are the questions that we have to ask. One, why did marketers not fulfill their promise made on national television to supply fuel after they got their last payment of 154 billion? If they don't have fuel to supply, why is the black market so full of fuel?
6 hours was given as a time frame to normalize the lingering petrol crisis, but barely a week since that meeting, the situation is the same. Queues are still very evident at petrol stations, while some others remain closed. The Senate committees on petroleum upstream and downstream had called a meeting with oil marketers with an aim to sort the lingering crisis in the country.
At the peak of the challenges we have, challenges when banks refuse to extend their lines of credit to us. And I want to say it openly here that we did not get that assistance from the banks. In other words, there was no way we could import. We are owing them, and they said we should pay back.
From the north to the east, west, and south regions of the country, the price of the product varies, selling between 100 to 170 naira per litre. Perhaps the clamor by many for the deregulation of the downstream sector is already taking place.
This subsidy that everybody, this marketer said they are owing them, I don't even know the impact of the subsidy, because now there is no light, there is no petrol, there is no water, everything is just standstill.
At least in Imbuzo, some of those stations were selling 150 as of yesterday. They just came down to 125. If you go around, it's about 130, 125. And we can get it 100 here, and it's available. And all their pumps are selling. So I think it's a better deal.
While this continues, some consumers lament that some fuel pumps have been adjusted to read faster than normal, thereby cheating unsuspecting buyers. Oil marketers have accused the Jonathan administration of owing subsidies in excess of 200 billion naira, a figure which has remained disputed by the immediate past finance minister, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala.
The business profile of Anambra State appears to be improving, with the state government securing more partnerships that will help businesses thrive. And to further strengthen this effort, the state governor, Willie Obiano, commissioned the office of the Bank of Industry in Awka, the state capital. Mr. Obiano says the state government has created a good environment that will help reduce the cost of doing business in the state.
The executive management of the Bank of Industry receiving Anambra State Governor Willie Obiano to the new bank premises on Old Road, Awka. With the guests settled, the managing director and chief executive officer of the bank went memory lane, recalling how the state government approached them for partnership in the areas of wealth and job creation.
The outcome of that visit was the execution of a memorandum of understanding for the establishment of a 2 billion naira Anambra State Government / Bank of Industry matching scheme, out of which the sum of 1 billion naira was contributed in equal amounts of 500 million naira each by ANSG and BOI.
Anambra, known for its resourcefulness and entrepreneurship, Governor Willie Obiano admits that more support to the small and medium-scale businesses will ensure that the ingenuity of the people is brought to the fore.
We've tried to reduce the cost of operation for the business people. First, on security. Before now, it was a thing of you can't even quantify the challenges that our people used to have in this area, but that's a thing of the past now. I'm very happy to say that, Then in the area of trying to improve on the road network, 0 potholes that we are doing to support industrialists, and lately, the improvements we are trying to achieve through catchment power areas support for the industrialists. I do in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
After the speeches, the occasion ended with the commissioning and inspection of the facility. And with the establishment of this bank, it's likely businesses will have easy access to the numerous beneficial packages of the bank.
Now, business owners in Aba, the commercial nerve center of Abia State, southeast Nigeria, are unhappy about the unsteady power supply in the city. This problem has forced them to continue to spend their profit on fuel to power their generators to meet up with customers' demands. Our community report tonight looks into the plight of businesses struggling to survive.
Etisala, now you're talking.
Aba, the commercial hub of Abia State, southeast Nigeria, is alive with the hustle and bustle of people moving to their various places of business. Once there, work commences in earnest to meet up demand from all their customers. But how easily is that achieved without regular power supply? They are compelled to rest until electricity is restored. Despite the impressive 504.4 megawatt power plant project and the Alaoji 330 kV transmission station located at Aba, which should provide the needed electricity to communities, the generating set is still a preferred option for the business community. And according to these business owners, their economic survival depends on the generators.
I want government to put view into it. Do you understand? Just to empower the Nigerian Power Authority for them to know what to do and start giving us light. That's all. Because without this light, everything is not working.
Throughout the day, we buy fuel to work. And on the end of the day, we shift the income we have to buying fuel. So it affected so much. That is what our main point. They'll have to light affect us. We need government to do something about the lights so that we can have light and work effectively.
They were paying NEPA bill without lights. So the thing was not helping our work. So let government and helping us to put hand for us, we get light into this our environment.
Valid reasons undoubtedly. But what are the health implications in the short and long term, considering the daily barrage of noise and fume intake? This doctor spells out the consequences.
There are fumes that it brings out, so that are toxic to the human body. So even for a very short period of time, it can be very dangerous to the person. It's not necessarily how many years you use it. From a very short time to the number of years you use it, it can be very toxic. And that kind of fume is what we call carbon monoxide. When this carbon monoxide builds up and binds with our hemoglobin, we have carboxyhemoglobin that makes it difficult for oxygen to get to our cells. So our brain is starved of oxygen, our heart is starved of oxygen, our muscles are starved of oxygen. The person becomes lean, and gradually the respiratory system can be depressed and that person can die in their sleep.
The knowledge of this most people are aware of. But what choice do they have? And what does the new government have planned out to ensure this issue is resolved?
We will focus on improvement of electricity. Partnerships will be activated to facilitate the provision of necessary infrastructure.
This dilemma is not peculiar to Aba alone, as power shortages are experienced across the country. But truth be told, Nigerians cannot afford to continue living with the belief that generators are the easiest way out. Because if the nation is serious about regaining the economic status it was once revered for, then something has to give.
Etisala, now you're talking.
First Bank. You first.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Business News. I am Adeshewa Josh. Nigeria's multi-billion-dollar petrol subsidy is unsustainable, and the current structure of the oil industry requires changes for the country to benefit from its crude oil resource. In an interview today, Dr. Andrew Neving, the chief economist at PricewaterhouseCoopers Nigeria, told Channel's Business News anchor, Bosin Omofaye, that the current oil price scenarios could mean for Africa's largest oil-producing country in the 2015-2016 fiscal year. Let's move on to all the stories now. The minutes of the May the 18th and May the 19th meeting of the Central Bank's Monetary Policy Committee has been released. The document shows that a 12-member MPC body noted the positive impact of the conduct of the general elections on the financial markets and the political risk premium placed on investment. A member of the committee suggested an improvement in fiscal management and its harmonization with monetary policies. None of the MPC members, however, sees a further recovery in the international oil price in the months ahead, but fears recent oil price gains is vulnerable. The Monetary Policy Committee members were unanimous in praising the stability of the Naira exchange rate since the scrapping of the CBN periodic currency auctions. Let's take you through the closing figures from the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The midweek session at the market ended in the negative territory as the key index drops by 0.54% to close at 33,879.21. High-cap stock Nestle topped the advances table with a gain of 30 naira. Coming far behind is Better Glass with 1 naira 99 kobo and 7up with 1 naira 50 kobo. Meanwhile, petroleum marketing stocks led on the decliners table, and Forte Oil Total shared 8 naira 14 kobo and 5 naira 95 kobo in that order. On the top trades chart, Mansard, Zenith and Guarantee Trust Bank pulled the highest volume of shares, while the total volume of shares stands at 252.3 million units, valued at 3.3 billion naira. And finally, on Business News tonight, the Central Bank says that microfinance banks paid up capital and shareholders' funds have risen to a total of 173.45 billion naira. Financial Stability Report released by the Apex Bank also revealed that the improved capital is attributed to the recapitalization of the MFBS, which upgraded from unit to state and state to national levels. According to the report, as at the end of last year, the funds increased by 13.48% and 7.37% to 82.44 billion naira and 91 billion naira, respectively. Well, let's bring you more on the story of experts speaking on the removal of the fuel subsidy. They are clamoring that it be removed so that it can be sustainable in the long run. In an interview today, Dr. Andrew Neving, the chief economist at PricewaterhouseCoopers, spoke to us on Business Morning and said that he explained what the current oil price scenarios could mean for Africa's largest oil-producing country in the 2015 and 2016 fiscal year.
On fuel, the number one issue that hampers the economy here is power. This country needs to industrialize, it should industrialize, has very large internal markets that could drive development here, but it's not possible to industrialize without access to power. I think that structures have been built up in the past that necessarily aren't transparent enough for the people. I mean, at the end of the day, the petroleum resources, which are the biggest resources for the Nigerian people, need to be transparent. It needs to be clear to the people what's happening. And it's difficult to see precisely what's happening in the structure. So it has to be an administration's agenda to step-by-step kind of look at that and help create that transparency. And I think that when it's transparent to everyone where the flow of funds from the petroleum, the refined products are going, it'll help immensely in the country.
Well, that's the chief economist at the PricewaterhouseCoopers Nigeria, speaking to Channels TV anchor Bosin Omofaye. That's Dr. Andrew Navin. That'll be all in business news tonight. The news at 10 continues in a moment.
First Bank. You first.
When the news at 10 returns, more than 50 labs in 17 U.S. states and 3 foreign countries